Monty's program for soybeans begins with an application of Monty's liquid carbon or nanobind at a rate of 64 ounces per acre applied directly to the soil anytime between harvest and planting. This treatment can be combined with most burn down or pre-plant chemical applications. At planting, apply 24 to 32 ounces of Monty's 4-15-12 plus 32 to 64 ounces per acre of Monty's liquid carbon in the row on the seed as a pop-up program. This application can be tank mixed with most burn down or pre-plant chemical applications. In season, Monty's offers products formulated for specific plant needs during each growth stage. Begin at the V3 stage with 16 to 24 ounces per acre of Monty's 4-15-12 added to your chemical pass. Then, as your crop reaches bloom stage, apply 16 to 24 ounces of Monty's 2-15-15 for excellent pod fill and development. Remember, anytime your crop is under stress from weather, insects, disease, fungus, or nutrient deficiency, we'd recommend an additional pass of 16 to 32 ounces per acre of Monty's 4-15-12 to provide the nutrients your plant needs to help it successfully deal with these added stresses. Farmers have also seen additional benefits by adding 8 to 16 ounces per acre of Monty's liquid carbon or Calcium Plus at any growth stage as part of a tank mix with most herbicide, insecticide, or fungicide applications. Now that you know how to apply Monty's on soybeans, let's check in with Monty's reps from across the country with a few more ideas on how you can implement the Monty's program on your farm.
And one thing I wanted to really point out, especially under double crop situations, we want the beans up and out of the ground as quick as possible so they'll have a chance to make production. If you use Monty's soil conditioner and row starter under your beans on the seed in the row, you'll get these beans up and out of the ground quickly and more evenly, and that's what it's all about. Getting beans up and out of the ground as quick as possible so they'll have a time to make yield to put money in your pocket, especially in double crop situations.
When you're using Monty's at planting time, you'll typically use the Monty's 4-15-12 as well as the Monty's soil conditioner. And you can put that right in row if possible, or 2x2. Some of the advantages that you may see from those applications are better germination rates, as well as a bigger, thicker, healthier, deeper root mass. The better root mass that we can get that plant started with, the better chance that plant has of getting through stresses, as well as intake of nutrients and moisture.
We're looking at a soybean plant now. As you can see, it's not very far along. We're in the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh trifoliate. But you also see we have a bloom. In today's marketplace, most of these soybean plants are indeterminate. That means they will start to bloom, continue to grow, keep blooming, and that's what we wanted to do. Well, as you can imagine, the plant is going to require more plant food to help pull off these processes, because blooming will be a stress on the plant. So is developing the pod. So that's one of the reasons that foliar feeding plays such an important role. So you've got the leaf surface. By all means, if you're coming through the field, we want to foliar feed the crop to hold those blooms and bring them out and even develop into pods.
Going across this field, you can kind of look at it. We don't have a lot of insect and disease pressure in this field. These beans are pretty healthy, but we're starting to get to a 10% bloom or a little higher. Guys, this is the time we really need to be doing that preventative care. This is the great time to add the 2-15-15 and 16 ounces of carbon, and along with any type of pesticide you might want to put in there to help it keep from aborting blooms as we go into this dry type period of the year, because we've got our bloom set. We want to come in and hold as many of these blooms as possible, therefore we'll have more pods and more yield per acre.
We've been talking to you some about some of the advantages that you can see by using the Monty's plant food program. I'm standing in the middle of a road between two different soybean fields. Let's go take a look at the non-Monty's field first. This crop is definitely under stress, and there are several issues that this field is trying to overcome right now. First of all, with the soil, we have a lot of areas where it's cracked, kind of uneven. Monty's liquid soil conditioner could be a very good benefit for the soil. There could be some compaction through here in certain areas. We have a very uneven stand in this field. Sometimes that can tell us stories about compaction and nutrient deficiencies. This crop was probably even under stress pretty much from the time that it was planted, because we did start out with a very cool, very wet spring. It was planted a little bit late, and looking at the soil and the unevenness, it's possible that maybe it was somewhat wet even when it was planted. We don't really know. But as we look out across the field, a couple things we notice. We're already into mid-July. You notice the height. I mean, we're barely above my boot here. So obviously, much shorter than what we would expect this time of year. Also, color-wise, we're seeing different colors through the field. So that can be anything from nutrient deficiencies, possible fungus on a couple of these leaves that we're looking at. So a lot of stress is in this field right now that this crop is going to have to overcome. A lot of times a shot of Monty's can kind of help with some of those things. And as far as the soil, Monty's soil conditioner. Now that we've talked about this field without Monty's that's obviously under stress, let's walk right across the field to another farmer's field that does have Monty's on it and see the difference from this field to that as far as how Monty's has potentially helped that other crop through some of the stresses we've talked about. Now we've come back across the road to the field that has Monty's in it. And about the only difference that we know between the two fields are that field did not have Monty's in it, this field does. They were planted about the same time, we do know that. Probably similar soils since they're close in geography, right across the road from each other, and they've obviously had the same weather. Looking at these visually, they're obviously further ahead of the field that we just left. You can see height-wise, these are well above my calf, almost to my knee. It's a much fuller, much greener plant. In fact, the canopy is starting to close between the rows a little bit. Just a much healthier plant. By applying that soil conditioner over 2 or 3 or 4 years' time, we're starting to see a better soil, getting that soil back to a healthier, richer, thicker state. One of the other things that is obvious in this field versus the non-Monty's field is a much higher population than what we had seen across the road. This field obviously germinated better. So while this soil probably drained a little bit better than the other side, one of the advantages of having better drained soils is that a plant can germinate better and take off and start growing, as opposed to having to sit in a lot of heavy, wet, cool, damp soils the way that it could have been across the road. Well, now that we've talked about some of the differences between these two fields, you can see that some of the advantages of using a Monty's program. Monty's is another great management tool to help you and your crop deal with those stresses that may come along in an average farming season.
For additional information, to answer specific questions about irrigation or particular crop recommendations, or to find a dealer in your area, visit www.montysplantfood.com or call 1-800-978-6342. If you're already using Monty's products, thank you, and we look forward to hearing your success stories. If not, we ask you to try it on a section of your farm this season so that you too can join the growing number of farmers who harvest results with Monty's.